do you think there are any misconceptions about going to urban places to go birding, which you've sort of touched on already? But so there's almost a snobbery, is there? Then people are like, oh, I'm not going to go into city for that.
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, especially when I first started actively being the urban birder, I think a lot of people were saying that's not real birding, and even people that lived in cities, they tended to then go off into the countryside to go birding. So the city was not somewhere they'd even consider. Whereas I found it fascinating because there's so much to be found in urban areas. And also, I found even in London in the very beginning that people were saying, oh, you've seen all these birds at worm scrubs, but it's an accident. They're just passing through by accident. I'm saying, well, actually, no, they actually migrate through here, and some people even went as far, it's typical crap you hear about, oh, he's just adding extra zeros in his numbers of metapipices, but then they come and then they find out for themselves that actually that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is that, and also it makes you feel more and more like an urban explorer, because I've been to over 350 different cities and towns since I started the Urban Bird, I think 16 years ago. And for many of them, if you Google them prior to visiting, there's nothing there at all. I mean, even famous places, like I remember going to Seville 2 years ago, there's nothing. Absolutely, you Google Seville, I mean, there is now, but before then, there's nothing other than Cota de Llana, which is, 20, 30 miles away. And when I first started, I was really annoyed when Paul Milne, who's I'm sure a lovely guy, I don't know if I know him, but he put out a book called Where to Watch Birds in the World's Towns and Cities.
Okay.
And then when I looked at the book, it was all sites which were literally 100, 200 kilometers outside of the city. And I'm thinking, what a waste of a title. I could have written something that, actually did that. So I was, even people who wrote about urban birding back then didn't really understand what it was.
Yeah.
And I think I've been trying to change the mindset for some time now, just trying to get people to think differently. But the main reason why I do all this is purely to sow a seed, to get people to love their environment from their doorstep, to try and get them to understand that conservation starts from the doorstep. And if you can get all those people interested, that's, in the UK, 82% of people live in cities and towns. And I find that a lot of the media and, they talk to the 21% who live out in the countryside, they should be talking to people in urban areas. And I think, for example, they've missed the trick with COVID-19. Fantastic opportunity to get a cameraman out with a camera, shooting from the hip. This is what I've seen in Aylesbury this afternoon, and even if it's song thrushes, blackbirds, I mean, that's a great place to start, because you can give people a backstory about these birds, to get them on the road to being interested.
Yeah.
I think, it's a vital thing, and it feeds very nicely into this whole situation when it comes to diversity in nature as well, in terms of people, because again, I've been listening to what a lot of people have been saying on social media and TV about the subject, and all of them seem to be sort of pointing fingers at NGOs, saying they should be doing more, and also talking about racism, blah blah blah. But I think one of the big reasons is the way that nature is sold. It's sold on TV still as a domain of white middle class.
Yeah.
So therefore, regardless of what colour creed you are, if you're in a city and you see that sort of thing, you think, you know what, that's not for me. This is my hood. I hang out here. There's no nature here. I just do what I need to do with my iPhone and what have you, and that's that. So I think that needs to be looked at, because that singularly is a massive way of getting people to change their thoughts on what nature means. And I think, again, that's another massive trick being missed.